Hey guys, Benjamin Albright, NFL Underground, Phantom Football Forum. Designed to give you greater access to me. You get the latest intel, insider information, rumors, news notes, injury information, Vegas lines, fantasy football, power rankings. Watch football games live with me. Phantom Football Forum. Only $1 for your first month if you sign up today. Facebook.com/WatchPhantom. Get the link right here. Come join us today.
What up, everybody? Great to have you with us. I am Ari Temkin, and you are streaming me live right now on Phantom, the new world order of sports media. Thank you for checking this out. Thank you for being a part of the stream today. And thank you for being a part of the stream every day. If you're new, then I'm Ari Temkin with 105.3 The Fan. You can see me or hear me on the Cowboys pre- and post-game shows along the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network and locally here in DFW on 105.3 The Fan with Jesse Holly. And then I do this stream every day. You can't hear me? Nobody can hear me? I'm seeing levels. G. Garcia says, can't hear you. I'm seeing levels on my end. Oh, Chris Bennett says, I hear you. Turn up your volume, C. G. Garcia. You had me scared there for a moment. Apparently Chris Bennett can hear me. If Chris Bennett can hear me, then everybody can hear me. What was I saying? Yada, yada, yada. Thank you to our partners with Phantom, the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. Go check out all the great work going on at Dallas Cowboys America's Team, that page. If you don't like it, make sure to go like the page right now. A lot of great stuff at the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. Shout out to all the folks watching over on that page, which I will acknowledge here in a moment as soon as that page loads. Henry Munoz, Shelton Holly all say they hear me. Gee, you're the only one, buddy. Try turn up your volume. I was seeing levels, so I thought, well, certainly it couldn't just be me. Nicole Garcia says hello on the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. T. Gray Kenneth says hello. My buddy Joe Tranchina says hello. Mark May says hello. Curtis Starks is saying what up. Emil Cook, Wayne Markley. So appreciate everybody joining us along those pages. Silver and Blue Nation. Shout out to the Silver and Blue Nation producer G, Big Game James, doing great work over at the Silver and Blue Nation. Where we've got Donald Weaver saying, what's up? And Clayton McKnight saying, Dallas Cowboys, so what's going on to all of you folks. Just want to make sure I'm acknowledging all you folks watching along all these great channels, Law Nation. By the way, I will be doing a live stream tonight, 9 o'clock Central, with the great Law Nation. We're going to do these every Tuesday night, so make sure to watch out for those on YouTube, on Facebook, and all these great platforms. And if you don't, go check out Law Nation's page over at facebook.com/Law Nation. And then the last page that I want to check out today, a partner of ours, would be the Dallas Cowboys Report, and all the great work going on over there as well. There's a lot of great Cowboys pages for you to get lots of great Cowboys content along. So shout out to our partners, the Dallas Cowboys Report, Silver and Blue Nation, Big Game James, Law Nation, and the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. Shelly Harris says, go Cowboys, baby. Go Cowboys, Shelly. Joey Perez says, is everyone healthy? ? And then Jennifer Powell-Henke says, DC for life. All right, so wanted to make sure I got everybody's involvement there. And then real quickly, just want to do one thing, and I'll be right back. But bear with me for 1 second. Post your questions, by the way. What do you want to know about the Dallas Cowboys? All right. That's better. Had to open up the blinds there to let in the light so you didn't see all the friction to the side of me. All right, but that's neither here nor there. Chris Bennett wants to know if Dak's dad can hear you. Apparently, Dak's father was arrested in Orange County, Texas on a misdemeanor charge of possession of marijuana. Interesting. Let's see. What else is everybody saying? All right, ask your questions because, I mean, there's certainly some interesting talking points. Eric Koscielny brings up the Redskins cutting Orlando Scandrick. This is a great talking point, and thank you to Eric for bringing this up. Hit the share button. Also post your comments, because today I kind of felt like, hey, just ask the questions you want to know. Also, at some point, I'm going to continue to break down the division I'm going to do the Eagles here in a moment, but first I need to tell you a great Orlando Scandrick story. Wade Zetterberg says, big game, James. That's what it was, G. Is it like a Bond reference? Game? Big game, James. Big James game. All right, everybody hit the share button, and I'll give you my Orlando Scandrick story if you haven't heard it. It's pretty funny. But, yeah, everybody hit the share button, and as soon as we get to 50 concurrent, I'll tell you my Orlando Scandrick story. Orlando Scandrick was cut by the Redskins today, which continues the trend of former Cowboys signing with the Redskins and then flaming out. First there was Jason Hatcher, then there was Terrell McClain, and now there is Orlando Scandrick. Hatcher was cut, I think, after his first season with the Redskins. Terrell McClain the same, and he was a free agent again this offseason. And Orlando Scandrick hasn't even gone a season being with the Washington Redskins before he's being cut. John Dyer knows the Orlando Scandrick story, so John, don't give it away. John Dyer wants to know if Rico's blocking is that bad. I think it's the blocking. I think it's the effort. I think it's the route running. I'm not really sure, but the Cowboys need an effective pass-catching tight end. And I say need because, and I'm going to get to this when I break down the Eagles and the over-under as I continue to break down the Cowboys' opponents within their division. But especially when you look at what the Cowboys have been doing in practice, where they've been targeting their tight end a lot in the red zone, you could argue that the Eagles' success last year is attributable to what they did with their tight end in the red zone and how much of a matchup nightmare that becomes in the red zone. And so more to the point, you know, I think I at first thought, hey, the Cowboys don't necessarily need a quality pass-catching tight end, but I'm starting to believe that they do. And I don't think they have that guy on their roster, or at least they do. It's Gathers, but Gathers is buried in the depth chart for what reason, I don't know. Hit the share button. I have a funny Orlando Scandrick story that I want to tell people, but I'd like to get the numbers up. Because normally I at least peak at like 50 early on, and then it dwindles down, but I'd at least like to peak at 50 today to start. What do I have to do, take off my shirt or something? Joking, kind of. Let's see here. Wayne Markley says, I can. I think he meant I can hear you. Mark May asking if there's any Earl Thomas news. Wade Zetterberg, I'm disappointed in you. Why weren't you the first one to ask me if there's any Earl Thomas news? The Earl Thomas news and update on today, August 14th, is as follows. He is currently an employee of the Seattle Seahawks. However, he is currently in Austin, Texas, training. There's been no word at all on whether or not they want to move him, but the bottom line is the Cowboys don't want to give up a second-round pick. They only want to do it if it's a conditional second. The Seahawks want a second because that's what the Cowboys reportedly offered during the draft until they pulled it back and then drafted Connor Williams as their second-round pick. So I think the Eagles are basically saying, no, we don't want less than what you offered us already. And the Cowboys are saying, okay, well, then go get a second-round pick for Earl Thomas, and they haven't been able to do it. I think the Cowboys want to give up a third with a conditional second, and the Seahawks just want a second. I think the fact that they haven't gotten a second-round pick as an offer, is the reason that he hasn't been traded yet. Daryl, my dad says Roquan Smith signed. Tell the Cowboys fans the Bears are a lock for the Super Bowl. My dad says the Bears are a lock for a Super Bowl now that Roquan Smith, the 8th overall pick, has signed after missing 29 days of training camp for God knows what. Wade Zetterberg says I already asked you today, and I gave you a legitimate update, despite the fact that you weren't looking for a legitimate update, Wade. I gave you a legitimate update. I thought about responding, Wade, with the LOL, but then I thought, you know what? Wade deserves more. Wade deserves a legitimate answer. By the way, Wade Zetterberg is referring to the Phantom Football Forum, which is really highlighted by our NFL insider, Benjamin Albright, who gives you the latest information, insight into your favorite teams, you know, perhaps some betting data or fantasy information. Go check it out, Phantom Football Forum. It's just $1 to join, or $5, $4.99 after that. So your first month is just $1, so you can check it out and see what it's like. Get all your questions answered by myself, but more importantly, Benjamin Albright. Get really good insight and information you can't get anywhere else. You know, Albright tweets a lot, but he's giving you breaking news on Twitter. You get the lowdown, the latest, more insight into the breaking news in the football forum. So go check it out there as well. Let's see here what else is going on. James Fuentes gives me the starry or the heart eyes. Jim Cyphers says, what's up from Connecticut? Jim Cyphers, how are you, sir? Curtis Starks asks, is Jalen Smith going to start at middle linebacker? Yes. Jalen Smith, this is a decent starting point. Jalen Smith is blowing everybody away at training camp. I think there seemed to be heightened expectations for Jalen Smith last year, I think based upon some of the videos that we saw and some of the things that he was releasing kind of prior to the season. And it was his first season. And so I think the expectations far exceeded reality. And we saw that. I mean, teams, he could not go sideline to sideline, and teams consistently exploited his inability to do that. Now, I still thought going into the season it'd be a difficult task for him to be asked to go sideline to sideline. I figured, he's a guy that get him downhill, get him blitzing. That's where he's at his best. But we saw him in preseason game number 1 pretty well in coverage and the ability to cut and go east-west. We're continuing to see that in training camp. I do not think we can downplay how extraordinary of a story this is. There have been 2 players in the history of the NFL that have suffered an injury like Jalen Smith has suffered and have come back to play. They're both offensive linemen. Okay? So what he's doing is medically unprecedented. Just to be on the field. Like I said this last year on my radio show, for him to just get back on the field is an unbelievable story. That is a 30 for 30 story. Just to be on the field and to make an NFL roster. Now they're looking at him being a starting middle linebacker and contributing in a meaningful way on a defense. Now, look, there's still a lot that we have to see, but, I'm a believer now. And I wasn't as far as 3 weeks ago, but I went to training camp, I saw it. We continue to see it in training camp. We saw it in preseason week number 1. It's extraordinary what this guy is doing. It is really we overuse in the English vernacular. We overuse the word extraordinary. What Jalen Smith is doing is nothing short of extraordinary. Let's see here. What else we got? Mark May asks if there's anything on Earl Thomas. Wayne Markley asks the same question. I believe I answered that for both of you guys. If not, please feel free to comment again. This is your opportunity to comment, get your thoughts heard. What do you want to know about the Dallas Cowboys? I'm Ari Temkin from 105 Through the Fan, broadcasting live on Phantom, the New World Order of Sports Media. Chris Castor says, what's up, Ari, from San Antonio? Chris, how are you, buddy? Miss everybody in San Antonio. John Dyer says, Skandrick is only good at one spot. I'll get to that in a little bit. I want to tell my Orlando Skandrick story. I have a funny Orlando run-in story from last year's training camp, which I will share as soon as we hit 50 concurrent. Until then, I'll just answer questions. But if you want to hear my funny Orlando Skandrick story, hit the share button. Let's get me to 50 concurrent, please. Eric Kashani says, yeah, it's a miracle he's able to play the game again. He had a serious injury. Yeah, he has severe nerve damage in which doctors haven't been sure if he'd ever have full nerve regeneration. So, he couldn't feel his foot last year. I don't know if he can. He says he can, but again, I don't know if now he has full nerve regeneration, if the nerve is actually firing, or if he just has a better feel. Excuse the pun. And he just is more comfortable not being able to feel his foot and plant and go sideline to sideline. I guess my guess is he has full nerve regeneration, but even that would be there are doctors you talk to that are like, I don't know that he'll ever have full nerve regeneration. So that was kind of the thing. Even if it got to 90%, it's not 100, and the thought was he might not ever be able to get to 100. All right, so Jim Cyphers asks the same question as Chris Castor, which is, well, Jim Cyphers says, who will be our number 1 receiver? Chris Castor asks, do you think Michael Gallup can be the number 1 receiver? So I'm going to fire a question back at all you watching, and more specifically to Chris Castor or to Jim Cyphers, the people who have asked these questions on 2 separate pages. And no, you don't want Skandrick back, Mark May. Are you crazy? What does that mean, a number 1 receiver? Do you mean the guy that will have the most targets, most yards? Do you mean the guy that they're going to go to on 3rd and 8 when they absolutely need to have a first down? What do you mean, the X, which is the traditionally the strong side, the strong side outside receiver, the X receiver? Are you talking about who will be the X? John Dyer says, Ari has been a wet blanket about Jalen Smith, so he's not just pandering to us. That's true. I have been very much a wet blanket about Jalen Smith. I am not pandering. Wade Zetterberg, hope you're listening. On Jalen Smith, I've become a believer. I was very much – John Dyer used to listen to my radio show in San Antonio all the time. I was very much not sure of Jalen Smith. Much in the same way I was very much not sure of Randy Gregory. I've become a believer of Jalen Smith. Now, there's still a lot more that we need to see, but I was very much on the fence on Jalen Smith as becoming a productive NFL player. Like, I always thought his ceiling, based on the injury that he went, was average at best linebacker in the NFL. And the idea that he could one day get back to what he was at Notre Dame was laughable. I'm no longer laughing. And again, credit to Jalen Smith for basically doing something in the history of medical science hasn't ever been done before. You should sign Billy Cole from The Last Boy Scout. Was that the guy that took out the gun? Chris Castor says, by number one, I mean go-to guy when you need a big play. So I think Michael Gallup will absolutely be a deep threat. So far through camp, Terrence Williams, wow, believe it or not, has been their most consistent deep threat as far as their ability to connect and their ability to who's been able to catch them. When I was at camp, Deontay Thompson was the guy that they were most targeting deep, but he's been out since then with an injury. But the number one or their biggest deep threat now would be Terrence Williams. At least that's what we've seen in camp so far. The guy they've targeted most often, and the guy that seems to be, most consistently able to catch passes down the field. But I do think they want to develop. By the way, I waved to somebody. That wasn't like me looking crazy. It might have been me looking crazy, but I was actually waving to somebody at my house, a person that is supposed to be at my house. I digress. I just saw on the screen what it looked like. I was like, oh, it looked like a crazy person. I don't know why it would look like that. Also because, like, you see, now it's, oh no, my hands are gone. Yeah, so there's that. Okay, so I think the Cowboys' number one receiver in terms of targets, in terms of yardage, in terms of where they're going on 3rd and 8 is Cole Beasley. I do. Dak told us that. Now let's see how defenses play the Cowboys, especially Cole Beasley. Will they double? So I think in terms of number one, it's Cole Beasley. But as far as who their deep threat will be, Gallup, probably. I hate to say Terrence Williams, but that's what we've seen in camp so far. But I think, they're going to – if – I talked about this with my partner on the Dallas Cowboys pre- and post-game shows, Jesse Holley, who was, formerly a number one receiver, or rather, formerly a receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. And he asked, we were talking about the need for a number one, and what he was saying is, look, if teams stack the box against the Cowboys, and then they bring an additional, safety to help on Cole Beasley, I mean, they're going to basically take their one-on-one matchups on the outside everywhere else. And so that was the need to have a number one, because if they're going to take away Zeke and then take away Beasley, it's like, where are you going to go and beat us? And that's the game that defenses are going to play consistently against the Cowboys this year. So, in that vein, who is that guy going to be? I think, it'd be nice if it was Gallup. Most realistically, though, it's probably going to be Allen Hurns, because it's very difficult for rookie wideouts to make that significant of a jump in year one. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. We don't see it very often. Now, if there's anybody that might be able to do it, it could be a guy like Gallup, who, ran the entirety of a route tree when he was at Colorado State, has the experience, doing that. So, I mean, perhaps Gallup can do that, but I also think, that's perhaps the role for Allen Hurns. But it's definitely a significant problem. I mean, it's when you look at what the Cowboys' weapons are on the outside and then their lack of weapons at tight end, it's pretty problematic, I would say, because there's just nobody that stands out, and absent Cole Beasley. Wade Zetterberg says crazy people wave too. It's a fair point. Chris Bennett says Swaim was a great blocker from Texas. G. Garcia on the Phantom page says, from what you've seen in training camp, can the tight ends block? Because Witten was a major part of the running scheme. Yeah, there's no problem with their tight ends' ability to block, especially Jarwin and Swaim. That's what they did in college. The issue with those guys is their ability to be pass catchers, or the ability to do both and not basically, telegraph what you're doing to the defense based on the personnel package. All right, on the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page, Wayne Markley says most yardage and catches. I believe that will be Cole Beasley. I believe Cole Beasley will have the most targets, the most yardage for the Cowboys receivers this year. Rob Garcia says, Rob from California, what do you think about Brown? His penalty kept the chains moving and did the same last year several times. I wouldn't draw too many conclusions about anybody from preseason week number 1. I agree. Anthony Brown was bad last year. He was really good in his rookie year. A major surprise for this team, and was bad last year. So this is a major year from him. From what we've seen from him throughout camp, he's been pretty good. But he had a really bad opening week of preseason. Like I would say the linebackers played well. The defensive line was active. They batted down balls in line of scrimmage. The biggest weaknesses that we saw in preseason week number 1 for the Cowboys was Anthony Brown and their corners. So I would say give it a few weeks before you want to cut Anthony Brown, but he wasn't good he wasn't good in the I think he had 2 penalties. He wasn't good. He was not as good as we've seen him be at training camp. Wade Zetterberg says you got to have a squirrely little dude with great hands for third downs. New England's success has been predicated on Welkers, Edelmans, and Amendola's over the years. That's the way football's evolved in the pass-happy league. And then he says, later, man. You getting out? G. Garcia says, about to get my haircut. Got to go, guys. Later, G. Make sure to come back after your haircut. Give us an update. Let's see. What else we got going on? Surin Praja says, do you think Dak will lead us to win 10-plus games? I've predicted the Cowboys will go 10-6. I'm not as optimistic as I once was about that, namely because I'm worried about their lack of weapons. I'm worried about their tight end position. I'm worried about their head coach. But I've said this before, and I'll stick to it. Cowboys' dominant offensive line, and I believe it will be back to being dominant, along with the dominance of Zeke Elliott, throughout the course of the Dak Prescott era, those two factors, and those two factors alone, have been good enough to make the Cowboys' offense top 5. That's what we've seen. When Tyron Smith and Zeke Elliott are healthy, Cowboys have a top 5 offense in the Dak Prescott era. When they're not, they don't. And that was the final 8 games of the season last year. So, look, I do think they need to have some consistency in the passing game, especially on deep balls. Clarence Hill, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, actually wrote about this. And in talking with Scott Linehan about the need to be consistent down the field. They've been working on it a ton in training camp. We're going to need to see it. And I think Gallup is going to be that guy. He's got the ability. He's got, I think, the speed, the size to win off the line of scrimmage, to get open. So I think Gallup, we've seen, again, Terrence Williams has been that guy a little bit, but he's never really been that guy throughout the course of his career, at least very often. Jesse Garcia says, I feel as if the Cowboys are going to be a 4-headed monster with Dak, Gallup, Zeke, Beasley, Dak being the weakest link of the 4, but something tells me Gallup will be great. Gallup will have great chemistry. I mean, I would say the weakest link of those 4 would be, it would be Gallup versus Beasley, in my opinion, not Dak or Zeke. Chris Castor says 11-5. Let's see here. Angie Ringel Vera says WIM, W-I-M. Not really sure what that means, Angie. That's on the Dallas Cowboys report page. Still trying to get to 50 concurrent. That way then I can tell my Orlando Scandrick story, which is pretty funny. And it basically is Orlando Scandrick yelling at me or me getting into a fight with Orlando Scandrick. So if you'd like to hear that story in specific, hit the share button, post your comments, hit like, do whatever it is you do that helps the audience grow. But I appreciate everybody being a part of the stream every day. We've got a lot of, faces and names we see every day. John Dyer and Jesse Garcia and G. Garcia and Wade Zetterberg and Curtis Starks along the Dallas Cowboys America's team page, and Robert Holm on the Silver and Blue Nation page. And I know I'm missing some of you, but I appreciate everybody joining us every day at noon, where I talk Cowboys every day right here at noon Central on Phantom, the New World Order of Sports Media. Jimmy Guzman says, can I get a shout-out? Shout-out Jimmy Guzman. Thumbs up, Jimmy Guzman. Dante Wilcher says, we started seeing him play better later in the season, though. Anthony Brown. You're referring to Anthony Brown? Or Lyle Collins, because I thought Lyle Collins had kind of a rough start at right tackle last year, but then really picked it up at the end and was really, really good, which is the reason I think they're going to have a dominant offensive line again. All right, this is kind of your show today. I am going to at some point break down every day this week. I want to break down a team in the division and give you my prediction on their over-under. Yesterday I did the Giants, which their over-under, according to BetDSI.com, is 7. The under 7 is the better money bet, meaning it's plus 135. Again, meaning you bet $1 to win $1.35. But the over 7 wins was minus 155, meaning you have to bet $1.55 to win $1. It's a lot of minutia to tell you that I took the over with the Giants, but I still think they're third place in the division. I think Saquon Barkley in the offensive line is a major upgrade. I think the Eli's issues last year were due to the lack of running game and lack of offensive line, which they fixed to a certain degree. I think the Cowboys have a better offensive line. The Giants have better receivers, obviously, and a legitimate number one who might be the best wideout in the NFL. And I think their defense is – there's positives of the Cowboys' defense. There's positives of the Giants' defense. So I took the over, although I think they'll end up being third. I took over 7 wins to the Giants, and I predicted they're going to be in third place in the division behind the Eagles and Cowboys. So that'll give you a pretty decent idea of where I think the Eagles will be, and they're over under 10.5, which I'll get into in a moment here. I also want to tell you my Orlando Scandrick story, but I need to get to 50 concurrent before I can tell you that, because Orlando Scandrick was cut by the Redskins today, and I thought that was kind of funny, because Orlando Scandrick doesn't have a good relationship with the media in any capacity whatsoever. All right, let's see here. He's just got this giant chip on his shoulder, not literally like Anthony Brown. By the way, do you guys know that Anthony Brown has a chip on his shoulder, literally? He has a tattoo of a potato chip on his shoulder. If you didn't know that, and now you're just finding that out, I hope you were sitting down for me to tell you that. He got a tattoo of a potato chip on his shoulder to say that he's got a chip on his shoulder. There wasn't anybody, I think he went to Purdue, I'm just going to guess that he had that tattoo done while he was at college. There wasn't anybody that was like, I don't think this is a good idea at all. Like, nobody said Anthony Brown, who has a literal potato chip on his shoulder so that he could have a chip on his shoulder. They were like, I don't think, maybe just say you play with a chip on your shoulder instead of actually literally having one. And also, why a potato chip? Why not a poker chip? If I were of the belief that I needed to have a tattoo of a chip on my shoulder to portray that I played with a chip on my shoulder, I'd probably go with a poker chip, but that's just me. Let's see here. On the Dallas Cowboys America's team page, Wayne Markley says Jerry Jones needs to let the head coach to see where he can really do not interfere. See what he can really do not interfere. I think he does do that for the most part. I mean, I think, look, Jerry Jones, the Jerry Jones that we thought of in the early 2000s, that Jerry Jones is gone. This is a collective. I brought this up yesterday. Stephen Jones, Will McClay, Jason Garrett, Rod Marinelli, Chris Richard, these are all part of the decision-making that goes into all of their decisions from a game planning, from a personnel standpoint. So, the idea that Jerry just sort of sits on this throne autonomously making these decisions, that doesn't happen anymore. And I think the best evidence we have for that is that Will McClay, who is the director of player personnel, has had multiple requests for interviews over the years, and he's always declined those requests. He's had requests to interview to be a general manager, and he's constantly declined those requests. Why would he do that if he didn't have the requisite power that he felt he needed to have to be with the Cowboys? They're obviously paying him, but he also needs to have a certain amount of power, right, to want to stay here. It's not just about the money. I mean, he could go somewhere else and be a general manager and have total control over the personnel department, and he hasn't even gone to interview for those jobs. It gives you a pretty good indication of how much power Will McClay has within the hierarchy of the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion. Let's see here. Chris Bennett wants to know if I've met Luka Doncic's mom yet. No, I have not. Wade Zetterberg says, Jenna, if I win the lottery, get divorced, get into shape, and somehow get 10 years younger, will you go on a date with me? Is Jenna even in the chat? Did Wade just ask out Jenna? Also, by the way, Wade, I'll just answer for Jenna. Sure. Win the lottery, get divorced, get into shape, and somehow get 10 years younger. Maybe all those things. Maybe one of those things. Maybe start with the actual picture of yourself for your photo. Or maybe that is actually you. Let's see here. Eric Kashani says he'd get a microchip. Eric Kashani also says a tattoo of a bowl of dip. Or like Chip Kelly on your shoulder. Is it a corn chip or a potato? I believe it's a Lay's potato chip that's on it. That's tattooed on Anthony Brown's shoulder. Let's see here. George Holland, with one small L, one big L, says, does our safety position lack talent? I'd say that's a pretty fair assessment of the safety position overall. Do we need Earl, from George Holland? I mean, do we need Earl? I mean, as a human being, you need air and water to live. So out of the necessities of life, no, you don't need Earl Thomas. But, yeah, I mean, I think there's a major void at the safety position. I mean, the Cowboys didn't do anything to improve the safety position in any capacity this offseason. They did nothing in free agency. They did nothing in the draft for it. And it was a hole last year. So and Byron Jones was starting free safety, and Xavier or Jeff Heath was starting strong safety, and they took Byron Jones and moved him back to corner. So they've reduced the amount of competition they have at the position, didn't go out in any capacity whatsoever to improve the position. And I don't know why they did that unless they thought they were going to get Earl Thomas. That's literally the only thing I could think of, because safety was obviously a need after this season. They then moved one of their safeties to corner to reduce the amount of competition they had at that position. So then I've got an unproven guy in his second year playing free safety after playing a year at nickel corner. And then Jeff Heath at strong safety with Kayvon Frazier, also strong safety. By the way, Jeff Heath suffered an injury yesterday. They're not worried about it, but now Kayvon Frazier stepped in at strong safety. So, I mean, you basically have Jameel Showers is their backup strong safety now, a guy that started with the Cowboys at quarterback. And an undrafted guy in Tyree Robinson, just backup free safety. So, yeah, I mean, there's a major void at the safety position. And, yeah, I mean, the Cowboys need Earl Thomas. To me, I think the Cowboys are 10-6. I think they got a ton of talent on offense. I think they have some talent on defense. But, I mean, Earl Thomas makes them championship caliber for a lot of reasons, because he's a great player and because he's a great leader. And I mean, I know somebody brought up in the chat before, the importance of a guy like Sean Lee staying healthy, and he's important from a on-the-field production piece to it, but he's also important from a leadership standpoint. Chris Bennett says the Simpsons version of the Raven is great. Yeah, it is. It's part of the Halloween episode with James Earl Jones as the narrator. It's fantastic. Simpsons is so good. R.I.P. Simpsons, 2005. Curtis Stark says Rico's a good pass catcher with a big body. He's seriously on the bubble. Yeah, I think, there's no question his ability as a pass catcher. But with Rico, I think it's effort, it's knowledge of the position, it's blocking. I think it's a lot of things. And, It's a very odd situation. I mean, you had the circumstance last year where he suffered a concussion and basically missed the whole year, but then he was saying that he was fine to come back, and I mean, there's certainly some inconsistencies in that. You could argue the Cowboys did it, in order to try and slide him to the practice squad, which they wouldn't be able to do if I don't think they thought he was ready to make the team last year, I don't think they thought he was ready to make the team last year, and instead of cutting him and losing him, they might have fudged an injury, concussion, in order to pass him through. But then he kind of came out and was like, "Yeah, I wasn't really sure what was going on. I was ready to come back," and it's just a bizarre circumstance. I'm not in those meetings. I don't know exactly why he's so far on the outside looking in. They're not going to keep four tight ends. I guess he's in a battle with what was Dalton Schultz, a 4th-round pick, a 5th-round pick to make this team? I would think Schultz would have the leg up being a recent draft pick, but they're not going to keep 4 tight ends. They love Jarwin and Swaim, despite the fact that they're not really dual threat options at tight end. So it continues to be a bizarre situation, a bizarre story. I guess all I can tell you about it is he's probably really, really good as a pass catcher, but is really, really bad or basically incompetent in any other capacity whatsoever as a tight end. John Dyer says, if Jeff Heath starts game 1, I'll die a little inside. Why are you so anti-Jeff Heath, John? He's fine. Eric Kashani says, I know Heath isn't ideal, but he plays his heart out in every play. John Dyer then counters with, plays his heart out as saying a girl has a great personality. Heath puts him in position, but can't open field tackle to save his life. Look, I think he's an adequate strong safety. I mean, I think they've got issues at strong safety well beyond Jeff Heath. That's what I'll say. Sarin Praja says, do you think our offense's play is quite predictive? Do you think our offensive coordinator let's see here. I'm trying to get the rest of this to have the talent to lead us to 10-plus wins? So the Cowboys have been saying all offseason and into training camp that the reason for their lack of ingenuity on offense is because of Dez Bryant and maybe more specifically also to Jason Witten. Those two guys sort of got in the way of their ability to be creative on offense. I'm willing to buy it. I think they've set up this team now after this offseason to be more creative, to be more multiple. They've sold us on being more Dak friendly, meaning a lot of different pass catchers getting involved, a lot of different weapons, and spreading the ball around. But I mean, what we've seen in training camp so far is a lot of creativity. 10 personnel, which again, one running back, 0 tight ends, 4 wide receivers, including 2 slot receivers with Austin and Cole Beasley lining up on opposite slots. They've also got Beasley on the outside, Tavon Austin on the outside. So, yeah, I mean, Sarin, I think your point's well stated. They haven't really been creative. They've lacked ingenuity in recent history, but I think their setup this year, at least they've told us they're going to be more creative. They've told us the issues along the lines of their inability to be creative is because of Dez and Jason Witten. Those guys are no longer on the roster, so they're sort of out of excuses when it comes to the notion of being predictive, which is very much something that people attribute to Jason Garrett. So we'll see. Now, we've seen it already in training camp with a bunch of different formations, and we've already seen the creativity, so I'm willing to believe that is what they're going to do. Whether or not it fixes their issues, that remains to be seen. Garrett Bloomer chiming in on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page says, is LVE sharing reps with Jalen Smith in the basic 4-3 scheme? Yes. But Jalen Smith is the clear-cut number 1 in that spot and has been throughout all of camp. Dale Rusella says, safety is a must, but that being said, what's your input on our corners? I feel like they're a strong point on defense. Yeah. After spending a week in Oxnard, California with the Cowboys at training camp, I felt pretty confident saying that the corners were the best positional group, having the best camp. Chris Richard has stolen the show at camp as the passing game coordinator, secondary coach. But I think they laid a major egg in preseason week 1. So let's see what happens going into week 2 and against Cincinnati at home. But that's going to be something I'm watching for in week 2 against Cincinnati is, their corners had a great camp. Cheeto was the best player I saw at camp. Cheeto Bay-Awuzie. Anthony Brown was having a good camp. Jordan Lewis was having a good camp. Byron Jones was having a good camp. So, I mean, they all had good camps, and they all had a pretty bad start to preseason. So, I hope to see a better effort from them in week 2 that would leave us more confident. But maybe some of that is attributable to the issues they have at safety. And, maybe there's a lack of trust between the corners and safeties, and so there's kind of a in-between area that they're really not sure of what's going on there. Because that's what so much of it is about. There's obviously a need for individual talent, but so much of it is cohesion, with safeties and corners working together. Mike Job says, okay, so Rico can't block. Couldn't he be a better weapon as a wideout then? Look, I don't know what the situation is with Rico Gathers. We see him make catches. We see him produce. We've seen that. We've also seen there are times where his effort's not there. The blocking obviously has been put into question, Mike. But I also think there's questions about his ability to or inability to grasp basic offensive concepts. I am not saying this is what I believe. This is what I've heard. I don't know. You talk to Rico, and everything's optimistic, and yeah, I mean he's learning and he knows everything, but and then he talked to other people, and there's questions about his ability to grasp basic offensive principles and concepts and route trees, and so I mean the answer to your question is it's not just blocking that's holding him back from being a starting tight end of the NFL. Wade Zetterberg says that's better than Austin and Earl working out. Earl and Austin working out. Earl is in Austin working out. Yeah. Wade Zetterberg says Cowboys go 8-8 plus or minus one game. All right. Why do you think so, Wade? TJ Carpenter already gave an update on Earl Thomas. You were late to the show. That's why you're not going to get an update on Earl Thomas. Joe Tranchina says, do you think Zeke will get playing time in his second preseason game? No. I think we're going to see Zeke in one preseason game. I think we're going to see him in preseason week number 3, a Sunday night game in Arlington against the Arizona Cardinals. I think we'll see him for a few snaps in week 3. I think that's fine. If it were up to me, I wouldn't have Zeke play at all in the preseason because, I mean, there's a shelf life on running backs, and every single snap they take, every hit they sustain, brings them closer and closer to their last snap in the NFL. So I just think wasting any of those very valuable snaps for Zeke Elliott in preseason is not a very good idea. With that being said, maybe they do need to work out timing and certain things that make it important for him to play in the preseason. If that's the case, then I'm fine with them playing him week 3 of the preseason, which seems to be the case, which seems to be the plan. That was what he said was the plan when he spoke with the media yesterday. Let's see here on the Dallas Cowboys report page. All right, I asked Angie Vera what whim meant, but she did not respond. So I digress. Silver and Blue Nation checking back out their page as well. In a moment here, I'm going to give you my prediction on the Eagles this year, this has been a very difficult thing for me to do, to figure out what I think of the Eagles, because I had certain ideas about what I thought the Eagles were going to be this year, but then they're I don't know. We'll get to that in a second here. All right, let's see here. GB Kalea says victory on the Silver and Blue Nation page. Jacob Eric Falcon says, do you see them making the playoffs or Super Bowl this year? I see the Cowboys as being a 10-6 team. Again, I think if Tyron Smith can play in 16 weeks, they're going to have a dominant offensive line. If Zeke Elliott stays healthy and plays, they're going to have a great running game. In the Dak Prescott era, when Tyron Smith and Zeke Elliott are healthy, they have a top 5 offense. You have a top 5 offense that's usually good enough for the playoffs. Are they a Super Bowl team? I mean, for me, their biggest weakness is in coaching. So it's hard for me to believe, like, you can get to the playoffs with bad coaching, and we've seen Jason Garrett get to the playoffs twice, right? So, but, winning games beyond that, there's a lot of coaching, and there's just components to help you win games when it comes to coaching that I haven't seen from Jason Garrett so far. I want to know why the Cowboys suck, not as a team on the field, just in general. That's from TJ Carpenter. It's an interesting question, TJ. Why they suck, not as a team, just in general. I'm kind of confused by that question, I'll be honest with you, but I'm not very smart. So, all right, let me just check in on all the other pages. Let's see here. I did Law Nation. There we go. Back to a Dallas Cowboys America's team page. By the way, everybody, thank you for watching. I'm Ari Temkin for 105.3 The Fan. You can catch me on the Dallas Cowboys pregame show and the Dallas Cowboys postgame show. You are watching this on Phantom, the New World Order of Sports Media. I stream every day right here at noon Central on Phantom, facebook.com/watch Phantom. And thank you to Eric. Oh, Eric Koscielny's a guy I didn't mention before. Eric Koscielny, John Dyer, Wade Zetterberg, Chris Bennett, TJ Carpenter, G. Garcia, Robert Holm, Jesse Garcia. Off the top of my head, all those folks who join this stream each and every day at noon. So thank you for being a part of this family every day, and hope that those names continue to expand. And, if this is your first time, thanks for checking it out. Make sure to check it out every day right here. And if you're watching this on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page, or Silver and Blue Nation, or Law Nation, or the Dallas Cowboys report page, or the Dallas Cowboys Really Real fan page, I will continue to stream through those pages as well. So, again, just make sure At noon Central, you're ready to go for this with your comments, with your questions. What I'm looking forward to is next week, the Cowboys are going to be back in Dallas from training camp, so they're going to continue training camp at the Star in Frisco. So I'll be back there, able to do live streams as I did throughout the course of training camp, which I'm excited for. So it won't just be this daily stream. We'll be doing additional streams post-practice, sort of answering questions, thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see what else we got. All right, nothing doing over there. All right, I was just going to conclude today, unless there's any other questions people want me to answer. Let me just real quickly circle back. But again, thanks everybody for being a part of today's show and everyday's show, where we talk Cowboys. And I'm asking you your questions, comments. What do you want to know about this team? Dale Rosella says, thanks again, Ari. Good input. Appreciate you saying that, Dale. Make sure to check out the show and tell your friends. Mr. and Mrs. Torres says the guard. Is it Mr. and Ms. Torres? That's interesting. Why not Mr. and Mrs. Torres? I digress. The guard they just signed, what about him? They signed a guard? Well, they did sign a receiver from Utah, a talented receiver. He's probably going to be on their practice squad because they already have a overabundance of receivers and some guys that we've heard of that aren't even going to make the team. John Dyer wants to know, is Sturm getting a chance to compete with Rush and White? Not really, no. JP Trimmer says record prediction 10-6. JP, that's been my record prediction, but I'm worried about safety. I'm worried about the receivers insofar as I'm worried about what are they going to do and who are they going to go to when teams take away Zeke and Cole Beasley, which they're going to do. So that's my biggest, and their coaching staff and Jason Garrett more specifically, his ability to evolve, use some of the advanced analytics to his advantage. Which leads me to my look at the Philadelphia Eagles. So yesterday I took a look at the New York Giants as I break down the over-unders for teams in the Cowboys division. Yesterday was the Giants. I took the over at 7 wins. Calm down. I believe they're going to win less than 10, more than 7, and not be a playoff team. I think the NFC East is stacked this year. I think they're going to have 3 teams that are at 500 or over, and the Giants are one of them. Yesterday I predicted that the Eagles would finish first, the Cowboys would finish second, and the Giants would finish third. So that leads me to my over-under prediction for today on the Eagles, 10.5. And please feel free to post what you think about the Eagles over or under 10.5 wins. So initially I thought, man, this Carson Wentz, Nick Foles dynamic is going to be very, very tough. You got a guy in Wentz coming back from a tough injury with a Super Bowl MVP sitting behind him as the backup quarterback, which I don't care what Nick Foles says, as soon as Wentz starts to make some mistakes, he's going to start to think, hey, should I be in there? I mean, the psychology of that locker room is going to be disturbed by the situation that they have this year, which is why if I were Howie Roseman, who I think is a brilliant general manager, I probably would have cut ties with Nick Foles. But that's neither here nor there. That was my initial thought on this season, that I don't think the Eagles are going to be as good as they were last year based on that. But if I were to go to betdsi.com right now and sign up and use promo code PHANTOM, F-A-N-T-O-M, and if you do that, you're going to get 100% back. So if you go to betdsi.com, promo code PHANTOM, deposit $100, then BetDSI will give you another $100. So everything you deposit in your initial deposit will be matched 100% by BetDSI so long as you use the promo code PHANTOM, F-A-N-T-O-M. And the over-under at 10.5. I'm taking the over at BetDSI.com for multiple reasons. One, it's the smart money bet, insofar as you get plus 110 on that or minus 130 on the under. Plus 110 meaning if you bet $1, you win $1.10. It's not great, but I think the over because I think this team is an 11, 12, perhaps 13-win team. They've got an elite-level quarterback returning to form with a great offensive line. Quality receivers, a really good running game, and really good schemes. The thing is, even if you look at the individual talent on this roster, and there's certainly question marks about the individual talent on this roster. I mean, just look at the names they have coming back from injury, right? I mean, they've got Darren Sproles had a torn ACL last year. Carson Wentz had the torn ACL, LCL. Jason Peters had a torn ACL. Defensive tackle Timmy Jernigan had back surgery. Brandon Graham had ankle surgery. Jordan Hicks had an Achilles injury. And Chris Maragos had a knee injury. I mean, there are a lot of injuries and guys coming back from those injuries. And by the way, Alshon Jeffrey, didn't even mention there, had the torn, was it the torn patellar tendon that he played through or was it the shoulder? I can't remember. It was, whatever it was. He had surgery after the year, and he's still. I mean, he's not going to be ready to go for Week 1. He might even start the season on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list, which would have him out for at least 6 weeks. But I think there's a couple of things to look at. One, Doug Peterson utilizes advanced analytics to his advantage, and he continues to be one of the few head coaches in the National Football League who does that, which gives him a major advantage because when you look and study the analytics on, more successful plays, what to run, when to run these things, I mean, that guides play calling and game planning and scheming. And I mean, the Eagles didn't have an overabundance of talent last year. That wasn't the reason they won the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl because their coach helped them win games based upon game planning, scheming, decision-making, which will continue to be the case this year. I also think, a huge piece to their success is the tight end target in the red zone. Well, they've got Zach Ertz, who's a really, really good tight end threat, especially in the red zone. And then they drafted in the second round Dallas Goedert, who, they love what they've seen from him out of training camp. He's had a good training camp. So even if Ertz is not 100%, they've still got a guy they drafted in the second round, Dallas Goedert, who could be that weapon in the red zone. So the Eagles, by the way, they were third best in the NFL in the red zone in 2017. And a big reason that they were successful in the red zone was because of their tight ends as a target. And by the way, I think most teams could learn a lot from that. Like, the tight end is a tremendous threat and target in the red zone, because they're normally in fortuitous matchups where you're going to be against linebackers that can't exactly cover you in space. So, I mean, you see teams successfully use their tight ends in the red zone. That those are going to be the teams that have the highest percentage of red zone offense and red zone scoring and red zone converting to touchdowns. So, I think there's a lot of reasons to think that they're going to hit the under at 10.5, based upon the injuries these guys are coming off of. Based upon turnovers. By the way, the Eagles were 11-0 last year when they won the turnover battle, and 2-3 when they didn't. And turnovers tend to be a product of luck, whereas year over year they tend to even out. If you were really high, if you had a really high turnover ratio one year, tends to even out the year over year. So that's another reason why you might be apt to pick the under. Again, I'm going to pick the over because I think they've got an elite-level quarterback who proved that last year. Even though he's come back from an injury, still has the ability to be an elite-level quarterback. Another year within this offense, which has a lot of moving pieces and a lot of moving parts. Nelson Aguilar became a huge target for him last year, especially moved from the outside into the slot where he was really deadly. They have great tight ends, a really good running game. You look at the offenses that are most successful, they use their running backs, the passing game, and their tight ends are huge threats in the red zone. I think that those two reasons alone are the reason I'm taking the over on the Eagles. Smart coach, utilizes analytics. The reason I'm not sure Jason Garrett has what it takes for the Cowboys to be successful this year. Ability to use advanced analytics to your advantage in play calling and scheming. Using quality running backs in the passing game. Aaron Sproles is back in the mix, really good pass catcher out of the backfield, and then their tight end position. All the reasons I'm picking the Eagles to go over 10.5. Go to betdsi.com now. Use promo code PHANTOM, F-A-N-T-O-M, and when you use promo code PHANTOM, you're going to get at a $100 deposit, $100 back to bet. So basically, they will match whatever you put in, 100% of it, if you use promo code PHANTOM. So go take the over on the Eagles. Tomorrow I'm going to take a look at the Redskins, and I've already told you I think this division lays out Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Redskins, with the Eagles and the Cowboys both making the playoffs. I'll give you my idea of the Redskins tomorrow, but thank you all for being a part of today's show. I very much appreciate you being a part of today's show, and make sure to come back tomorrow, live at noon Central right here on Phantom, the new...
I don't think it's going to be players, and my contention has never been that the players, other than quarterback, that the Broncos have are bad. Actually, offensive line and, tight end, too. I don't really have a tight end. Running back's not great either. But generally speaking, I think the talent on the roster is good. The talent on the roster is good enough to be at least 500. My problem here is Vance Joseph's brain. I do not think that Vance Joseph is qualified to be a head coach in the NFL. I think that last year was pretty much all Exhibit A, everything. I'm not telling you something you don't know. I think I saw somewhere earlier today, Vance Joseph has been called out. Oh, we got to get to this. I saw on social media earlier today that Woody Page was on Altitude, and he's telling Scott Hastings, he was telling Scott Hastings that he thinks that Vance Joseph's going to get fired after the 49ers game. And, I mean, stealing my takes? I mean, Woody Page? Come on, Woody. You're just trying to steal my takes. And don't give me this, I don't know who you are, crap. You were following me on Twitter for quite some time, Woody. Broncos fans are smarter than people give them credit for. I think they're smarter than the average NFL fan, and they kind of they're quiet about it a little bit, but they all kind of know whether or not the team's going to be any good, and they can tell. I think people last year, it was a little bit of a surprise to them. It wasn't a surprise to me. I've nailed this team since I got here. I knew exactly how bad they were going to be, and they were, and the reasons why were exactly the reasons why, and now all of a sudden everybody's like speaking my language, criticizing John Elway and saying, hey, I think you're screwing up the team, John. I think you maybe need to do something a little different there. Because they want people to be excited. They're really pushing product right now. Like a used car salesman. They have shined up their Vance Joseph, and they are pushing that out onto the showroom floor. Like, come on, guys, let's move some units. Let's see what we can do today. Let's hit a quota. They are really pushing product right now. The Broncos know what's coming. I think this is an indication. It's a big, bright sign that says we're not going to be good this year. And I know that there's hope. We've talked about this before. There's teams you trust in, there's teams you hope in, and the Broncos are a team that we're hoping are going to be good. But we have no trust or belief in them to do that. So that's fine. I'm just saying that 1650 just screams, please, let's not have empty seats. If an NFL team is selling their product for less than $75 a ticket, I kind of question what's going on. What, people aren't going to games? What's your strategy here? You're trying to find your price point. Because there are a lot of, it doesn't matter what the price is in New England. They're going to drive out into the wilderness. Have you ever been to Gillette Stadium? It is in the middle of nowhere. And they're just like, I don't know, like drones, like bees heading out towards, it's mindless. They all go out there and they just pay hundreds of dollars to watch Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and then beat off for 3.5 hours. That's not what the situation is in Denver right now. That you guys are not zombies to the Broncos right now. And I applaud 1650. I think that's good for fans. I really like that people are looking at that and saying, okay, hey, maybe it's attainable. I can go to a Broncos game this year. That's good. And I think it's good that the organization really pays attention to the fans that way. I just think that it also means that they can't sell them for more because they absolutely would have been. This is the last week that we really have without any football. Next weekend, we got football, right? We got the Hall of Fame game coming up. T.O. isn't going to be mentioned at all. We'll see how that goes. But I really want people to focus in here on what I'm trying to tell you about Denver. I'm really optimistic about Shane Ray, because typically, when a guy gets hurt like that, spends a year off, usually they come back and they're in pretty good shape. So I think Shane Ray is going to come back and he's going to be really, really good. I'm in on Derek Wolfe's neck. I think the neck is going to be good. Derek Wolfe's already had some really great comments. He's also got dreads, which, as we all know, that adds like 3 or 4 points onto your speed in Madden. So clearly, I think Derek Wolfe's going to be a faster, leaner Derek Wolfe. It's going to be probably a little bit crazier. I think dreads also make you crazier. I think that's obviously always true. He's going to look a little bit like a very large predator. And I think that having that on the defensive line is really going to help you. Brent, training camp is free. You just have to walk through their T-shirt store 7 times to get to the field. That's right. And look, they move some product in Broncos country. They really do. Everybody in this town has something that's orange and blue. So, they've done a good job of pushing merch. You had a lot of units. You get a lot of Von Miller jerseys. And by the way, Von Miller leads all defensive players in the league in jersey sales, which...
Hey guys, Benjamin Albright, NFL Underground. I want to talk to you today about the Phantom Football Forum. Designed to give you greater access to me. You get the latest intel, insider information, rumors, news notes, injury information, Vegas lines, fantasy football, power rankings. Watch football games live with me. Phantom Football Forum. Only $1 for your first month if you sign up today. Facebook.com/WatchPhantom. The link right here. Come join us today.
Hey everybody, welcome to Noon O'Clock. I am TJ Carpenter, and we're out here live at Broncos training camp yet again. I know that that's what everybody wants to talk about. Nobody gives a rip about the Rockies right now, you know what? Look, I am 100% understanding of that. You guys don't care about baseball, and that's great. You know, there's a lot of people out there going to try to push this narrative for some reason that Denver is some sort of baseball town. It's not. It's not a baseball town. We're talking backup quarterbacks here exclusively on the show today. Nothing but backup quarterback talk. We're talking about Chad Kelly and Swag Kelly. We're also talking about Paxton Lynch. We're going to be talking about what you could do with Paxton Lynch. What is it? Is it good that you have finally gotten somebody to move on from Paxton Lynch and on to Chad Kelly, or do you need more? Do you need more than that? But as always, before we get the show started, I want to thank our sponsors, BetDSI.com. Go there, use the promo code PHANTOM. That's FANTOM. And he says, I'm ready to rocks on. Volume is too loud. All right. Turn that down. Let's see if that helps. Is that better? Hopefully that's better. Sorry about the too loud. Too loud. Is that better? Is that better? I hope it's better. Okay. All right. So if we have any more volume issues, please let me know. BetDSI.com. Go there. Use the promo code PHANTOM, FANTOM. And you can get your first deposit matched up to $2,500. That is insane. But that's what you can get at BetDSI. We gave you some of our props from earlier in the season. From the season-long bets that you want to get your futures in the NFL. So these are our BetDSI locks for you. Your 2018 over/under win totals. These are the bets that are going to win you money. So take this knowledge with you. Armed with this knowledge, go to BetDSI.com, use the promo code PHANTOM, put as much money down there as you want. No judgy here. This is a no judgy zone. And then put your money down on the over for the Redskins 7, the over for the Patriots 11, the under for the Packers 10, and definitely the under for the Cowboys 8.5. They're going to be way, way under 8.5. I mean, Ari Temkin, who hosts the show here on Phantom before this one, is going to try to sell you a bill of goods about how the Dallas Cowboys are going to be a playoff team. Don't listen to him. He's lovely. I love Ari. I love Ari like a brother. But he is pathetically wrong on the Cowboys this year. So I hope Ari is watching right now. Is Ari watching? Do we have Ari on there? Want to say what's up to everybody. My wife is watching. Hello, wife. We got Zach who's watching. Wade's watching. Andy, Jenna. What's up, guys? Let's see. Andy also says that's a lie. I'm a Rangers fan. Yeah, of course you are, because no one's really a Rockies fan. We're sitting here talking about Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly was named the backup officially, and it was like a holiday in Denver. People were so happy that they were finally coming to terms with the fact that Paxton Lynch is objectively unqualified to be a quarterback. And it was like, it's like, this is the danger of lowered expectations, right? The danger of lowered expectations is that you can just just crap around for 2 years and dilute yourself to thinking that Paxton Lynch is just a project and eventually it's going to click for him and he's going to be fine. And you can dilute yourself to believing that. But it clearly wasn't going to happen. And we knew pretty clearly that it wasn't going to happen like at least 18 months ago. So, yeah, Chad Kelly's the backup now. And Denver has been unable to talk about anything else for 2 days. Really quickly, too, also want to mention Brett Malia Properties with Coldwell Banker. Go to tjsagent.com and check out what Brent has going in the real estate industry here in Denver. He was my real estate agent, and we found the perfect house due in large part to Brent and what Brent was able to do for my wife and I. And as well, you know, his partner in crime, Platte River Mortgage, we used Platte River Mortgage for our mortgage, and my wife and I were just very pleased with what they were able to do. They found out some glitches with our credit we didn't even know were there. They fixed those. They did so on a deadline. They were always approachable, always ready to talk, always ready to help. And so we got a ton out of them. So go to PlatteRiverMortgage.com if you're looking for a mortgage, and if you're looking for a house, go to TJsagent.com. Brent Malia Properties with Coldwell Banker. Let's see here. Zach says, actually, Andy says trade Lynch to Montreal. I don't know if Montreal would take Paxton Lynch. Would Paxton Lynch work in the CFL? I don't think the CFL is. I think that's too good of a league. I think there are too many good players there for Paxton Lynch to go in. Because I would take Johnny Manziel in a heartbeat over Paxton Lynch, and Johnny Manziel threw like 4 picks the other day. Let's see here. Wade says, Rocks, you mean socks, as in the red ones? Yeah, the Red Sox are pretty good, Wade. We get it. We get it. You like Boston sports. We get that the Red Sox are good. You just cool your jets, Wade. That's what we need, right? We need another Boston sports team to do well. Please. No, Boston was at least tolerable when they sucked at everything. That was probably the best time in sports, is when Boston sucked at everything. And then, at least then, their nastiness as a city was kind of, well, I wouldn't say endearing, but tolerable, as I would say. Let's see what else we got here. Jenna says, we want baseball. No, you don't. Rocks, Lorox. I don't care. Just talk MLB. No. We're not talking MLB. We're talking Chad Kelly, backup quarterback for the Denver Broncos, officially. Vance Joseph made it official. It was news. It was national, local, regional, whatever news. The Rockies won 3 games in a row against the Dodgers, and they're like at like 2% interest. 2% interest. No one cares. No one cares. It's the Dodgers. No one cares. Let's see here. Wade says, Melanie, please tell me crap for my legs, and I have beautiful legs. Tell him, honey, I have beautiful legs. Zach says, you judge me all the time. I do. That's true. This is a no judgy. This is a judgy-free zone, but I judge you, Zach, all the time. Zach is our fat cat CEO here at Phantom. And yes, he does have a monocle. He has a monocle, and he smokes a cigarette out of one of those straws, like Cruella de Vil on 101 Dalmatians. He's all ritzy. Fancy fat cat CEO, Zach Rosenberg. Let's see here. Jenna says, we officially have proof of his chicken legs. Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yes.
No, you don't have proof of my chicken legs. My wife said, LOL, he gets it from his daddy. My legs, yeah. My dad was a running back in college. That should tell you something, at least a little bit about how just a smidge about the athleticism that is within these genes. Literally within these genes. Let's see here. We've officially have proof of his chicken legs. On a side note, the Broncos could still be burdened with Brock Osweiler. Yeah, look, Osweiler, I'd take Osweiler easily as the backup here. Because I think Case Keenum is pretty good. What I've seen from him out of practice is pretty consistent. He's done. He's just a good worker. I think that kind of the ability. I think Case Keenum's right next door right now. Actually, about to do an interview. Maybe we should compare calf sizes later with Case. Let's see here. Let's see. Paxton Lynch would drop my fries at McDonald's. That is, you guys. I don't even have to be mean. To Paxton. You guys are doing it for me, man. Let's see. Cheers, mate. What's up, Abdul? Armando says the Cubbies have been playing great. Do you think they will win the World Series this year? No, I don't. The Cubs are not. They're not on my radar really this year. I don't think they're going to be contenders when it's all said and done. Well, yeah. Look, and people overreact to the Cubs all the time. I think it's like. I do seriously. People overreact to the Cubs, and it's unnecessary. There is no need for the attention that the Cubs get on a regular basis. See, that was Case Keenum over there. What's that? You've never seen Case Keenum? Is that a problem? Do people have problems following players if they don't know what they look like? If because they're wearing helmets the whole time? Let's see here. Andy says, "Thank God Arenado didn't go on the DL." Am I right? Yeah. That's their only shot, really. The Cubs will not go to the World Series this year. I agree. My wife once again says, "I would love to have your legs." That's not an endorsement. That's well, hey, you can have my legs later. Let's see. After another 5-11 season, Jorge is predicting that the Broncos will go 5-11 again. And look, let's talk about this because I do think that there is. I'll change my slate here. Are people overreacting to how crappy they looked in the first week of the preseason? Are people overreacting? Because if somebody's overreacting, I said they look disorganized out there, and I think that's a pretty clear indication of some issues with maybe the coaching staff and how they're doing things out there. I look out here at practice, and I think they do a good job of practicing. I think they generally look like they know what they're doing, but once again, maybe this is just the fact that they have no depth being exposed in a preseason game, or the fact that they have a really simplistic game plan or scheme. People have said this a lot. Oh, they only ran like a couple of concepts. They were working on concepts, not plays. Like, okay, well, if you're running 12 plays, the starting offense should not get derailed by a false start penalty. I mean, they got totally derailed by penalties. You shouldn't have these issues. Zach said invite Case Keenum on. I couldn't catch him. He was with Patrick Smythe, their media relations guy. He just whisked him away. Did you guys hear Case Keenum yell? Let's see here, because he yelled, "Case Keenum sucks." That's what he did. When I said Case Keenum's pretty good, everything I've seen out here from practice is good, and then he said Case Keenum sucks. Yelled it. Let's see here. This is Boston's year. Wade says this is Boston's year. I think we'll beat the Cubs or the Dodgers. Wade, how are you putting... Of course, Wade lives in Indiana, so he's really close to Chicago there. Right, he's going for the Red Sox, but I think even he over-evaluates the Cubs. Because everybody... You remember a few years ago when they got 5 All-Stars into the All-Star game, and it was like, oh, well, of course they did, because they're the Cubs. But a year prior to that, the Royals did the exact same thing. They got 5 All-Stars in. No, they got 4 All-Stars in, and people were irate. They were just pissed off. Like, oh, how can we let Kansas City just rig the All-Star game voting and get so many of their players in with 4, and everybody was all up in arms about it, and it was a big topic on sports talk radio and all this stuff, and then the Cubs do it the next year, and they're like, oh, well, of course, it's Chicago. I mean, it's the Cubs. Of course they're going to get All-Stars in. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Andy says, you don't even care about sports. Actually said, you don't even care about Sprots. You just get paid to talk about it. I do care about sports. I love sports. I love Sprots. I shop there all the time. No, I do. I love sports. I love watching sports for sports, though. I love watching football because I like football. I don't like watching football because I like the Broncos. And I think that's where a lot of my I did this poll a few years ago. Or was it a year? No, actually, I think it was this year or last year. Are you a fan of sport or are you a fan of your favorite team? And I asked this because I thought it was going to be like maybe 70-30 people who love their team versus their sport. And no, it was 92% said that they were fans of a team versus fans of a sport. I think like 4,000 or 5,000 people voted in this poll. It wasn't a huge poll, but it was really telling to me because it tells you a lot about what people care about. And if you really boil it down, people like a team because it represents their city, and they like the city, and they feel like that's what they're supposed to do. There's always a sense of civic pride. And if you had to boil down sports to like its most fundamental elements, like civic pride, that's what it is. It is masturbation is to sex as sports is to war. It is a simulated version of the real thing. So basically what we're doing here is we're having, the Broncos, who are the army of Denver, go fight the Kansas City Chiefs, who are the army of Kansas City, and then whoever wins gets to shame the other group. And that's basically what it is. That's why we like sports. Because it's simulated war, and we have to figure out a way to get our aggression out, and that's how we have decided to do it in our society, is to do it with sports. And I would say football is about as close as it gets in sports to being that. Let's see here. Armando says, what are your predictions on the Chicago Bears this year? The Bears actually, I think, are going to be improved. I think the Bears, with Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky, I think that offense is going to be pretty good. I was really, really impressed with the Chiefs' offense last year under Nagy for about 2.5 months, and then it started to suck. But Ari should be very happy with this prediction because he's a Bears fan. I think that the Chicago Bears might be the second best team in that division behind Minnesota. And then, because I think you could make an argument that they're better than Green Bay. I think the Packers they have Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but the rest of their roster is trash. So I'm going to say the Bears are the second best team in that division. Let's see here. Sox are 500 against teams with a winning record, just saying. Zach, that's every baseball team. Every baseball team is almost 500. Go look at any record. How many teams? Jenna, can you look this up for me? Can you go look up the standings? Tell me the winning percentages of every team in baseball. Tell me how many teams have a winning percentage that's above 60 or higher. Because they're all in the 50s. That's baseball. If you win 2. Actually, I take this back. If you win 4 out of every 7. Not only are you a playoff team, you're the best team in baseball, period. 4 out of 7. If you win 4 and lose 3, and then win 4 and then lose 3, and you do that all season long, you'll have like 104 wins or something like that. That's how many? No. How many baseball teams have a winning percentage that is above 59%? How many baseball teams is it? Above 59%. Let's see here. I don't care about Sprots either. Hashtag sports nihilist. Look, Sprots nihilist. I am a Sprots nihilist. Gee, you have missed a lot. You have missed a ton. look, overreacting to things. I don't think people are overreacting like too much in Denver to what they saw, because Denver has smart football fans. Denver doesn't know a lick about baseball. They don't know anything about basketball, although they're getting better at basketball. If you talk to the right people, they know about the Nuggets. But I mean, it's in terms of like the knowledge base of fans in Denver, I would say that it goes Broncos and then Avs. So the hockey knowledge here is pretty good. The football knowledge is fantastic. They don't know anything about baseball in Denver. Denver doesn't know a lick about baseball. And that's why nobody really cares, because they're all from other places. How many? 20 out of 30 have a – that's not right. 20 out of 30 have a win percentage higher than 60? 60%? Yeah. Higher than 60% or higher. How many teams have a winning percentage? 60% or higher. Let's see. Wade said, TJ just said he didn't have a huge poll. I did say that. Andy says 4,000 to 5,000 voters is enough for most mainstream media outlets. Yeah, okay. Well, it is. Wade says Boston is over 700. Yeah, of course they are. They're the best. They have the best record in baseball. The Red Sox are good, but that's one team. Everybody else is around 500. And everybody's always close to 500 because it's baseball. Ari is a Bears fan. He is. I know you wouldn't really tell that from listening to his show because he sounds like a Cowboys honk. But, he's a big Bears fan. He's a big Chicago guy. Let's see. Andy says, getting hit 4 out of 10 attempts makes you a hero. Yeah, right. Yeah, 40%. If you're succeeding 40% of the time at the plate, you're a great baseball player. Go back and you take a look at Barry Bonds' numbers from 2002 to 2006, where he won 4 consecutive MVPs and all that stuff. Go back and look at his numbers. So he was hitting at 320. I think he had a 320 average and 70 home runs or whatever it was, and 200 and something walks. He set the record for walks in the season. He was terrifying. Pitchers were afraid of Barry Bonds, and he was still only succeeding 34% of the time. He was Babe Ruth. He was a modern-day Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth, also black. And so, he was just, you're taking a look at Barry Bonds, who is, terrifying, and he's still only succeeding 35% of the time. It's one of baseball's biggest issues, which is why every time I say this to people, nobody wants to listen to me. But if you wanted to fix baseball, just allow the manager to reset the lineup at the beginning of every inning. It would fix all of baseball's problems. Every single one of them. Very rarely are there silver bullet solutions in life, but that's a silver bullet solution for baseball. Let's see here. Andy says, if you talk to the right people, they'll know about the Rockies. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. I got a pretty passionate Rockies fan sitting across the table from me, Jenna Garcia, and she doesn't know anything about baseball. So I look, and she's this guy, what's his name? Shapalicious. Shapalicious he covers the Rockies, and he doesn't. He knows more than you do, but he doesn't know a ton. I was talking to Sean Drotar about this. Sean Drotar used to be an editor for the USA Today, and he's been covering baseball his whole life. And we got into an argument when I first met him, maybe about a year ago, about how quality starts were an overrated statistic. And I said, no, they're not. Quality starts are actually really, really important because it means that your starter is going a minimum of 6 innings. And he said, first of all, he didn't know how long a quality start was. And then he didn't know how long a quality start was. But he said it was an overrated statistic. It's quality starts don't matter. Quality starts absolutely do matter because nobody makes it to the 7th inning if you're bad. because your pitch count gets too high. It means that your pitch count has stayed low, and it means that you have gotten through 6 innings of work without needing relief, which is really, really important to your pitching staff. And it's an indicator that the game is going your way as well. So I'm a big believer in quality starts, but nobody else, like Sabermetrics did 2 things. Sabermetrics allowed things that were not previously measurable or quantifiable to be quantified, which is good. But what it also did was it made people slaves to the notion that everything can be measured and quantified and therefore valued. And that's not true. You have to watch those games. You have to understand how things work. You have to understand situations in sports. And you can't, like trying to explain Pacoda projections. Pacoda projections are a great example. Trying to explain to people why Pacoda projections are not only terrible and wrong, but also very, very damaging in creating expectations for fans on how good their team is supposed to be. Because the win-loss total Pacoda projections for every team, they're so wrong. Think about this. If you had predicted every team to go 500 in baseball, every team goes 82-82. If you had that, or 80, is it 81? Is it 82 or 81? 81-81. So you go 81-81. Every team goes 81-81. And you would actually be closer to the actual win-loss records that every team had than if you had actually gone with Pacoda's projections for the season. But see, that's because it's an aggregate statistic. You can't aggregate these numbers and then come up with some sort of finite way to measure and predict every team. And so, like, people have thought that's what creates, that was the magic annual. That was the key to success. Using some statistics work, but not all statistics. Not all statistics work. Let's see here, Andy. If you talk to the right, let's see, Jared. Talk about football more. Thanks, Jared. Thank you, Jared. Thank you. Wade says only 4 and 6. I'd say Boston, New York, Houston, Oakland. Let's see. Zach says no, it wouldn't solve baseball's problem. Yes, it would, Zach. And I don't know why everybody is so resistant to this, other than the fact that you all hate change. You do. You guys are all fuddy-duddies. You're all sticks in the mud. You don't like anything different. You don't like new ideas. It would solve everything in baseball if you just reset the lineup at the beginning of every inning. Zach says he grew up in Chicago. Yes, people are overreacting to the Broncos preseason opener. Ari, I think you're underreacting to how much the Cowboys suck. I think that's what you're underreacting to. Look, I know that a lot of people are going to try and say that anytime anybody says anything negative about a preseason game, or positive, like any sort of definitive statement about preseason, people are going to get mad. People are going to get upset because, you're not supposed to judge things based on preseason performances. I'm not judging their talent. I'm not judging their strategy. I'm not judging any of that stuff. What I wanted to see was that they were organized and they looked like they knew what they were doing. And if I go back and watch that film of a preseason game, they did not do that. They did not look organized. Their defense was awful. They were just getting engaged in blocks way too easily. Latavius Murray was making a joke out of their run defense. And look, it was a preseason game. So, sure, yeah. Does it matter? A little. It matters enough. And then the whole Paxton Lynch thing. This is why everybody's been talking about the backup quarterback for 2 days. Because Paxton Lynch was the great project of the Denver Broncos. He was supposed to be the guy after Osweiler left. He was supposed to be the guy who was going to take over for Peyton Manning, and he was going to lead this team into the next era of Broncos football. And not only did he not do that, he was never officially the starter at any point. He was, when he did get onto the field, was bad. And then if you're wondering what happened last night or on Saturday in the preseason game, he was booed off the field. I mean, in a preseason game. And I don't know if it's necessarily his fault. This is the thing, is that I don't know if I can really blame Vance Joseph for not being a great head coach, and I don't know if I can really blame Paxton Lynch for not being a great quarterback, because the guy who hired and drafted those guys is John Elway. And that right there, that is the thing that I think most Broncos fans at this point are reacting toward. They're not reacting to Paxton Lynch necessarily, so much as they are, they can't let themselves be mad at John Elway for screwing the team up the last 3 years, but they can be mad at the people who he's put in place that have been screwing up the team. So they're pissed off at Paxton Lynch, and they're pissed off at Vance Joseph, and they're just generally pissed off at the Broncos. But nobody really wants to just openly come out and say, hey, John Elway's screwing the team up, guys, and he's been screwing the team up, and nobody can check him in the organization because the ownership situation is in flux right now. And that's all stressful, clearly. That puts a lot of strain on an organization, not having any leadership. And so everybody just kind of looks to the star. And that's the way everybody's always done it with Elway. And to be honest with you, it's always really kind of worked out for Elway. This is the first time I think that you could legitimately say that John Elway is coming up against a challenge in life he doesn't know how to fix. He doesn't know how to solve. This day-to-day grinding of being a GM, like it was pretty easy when the GM decision that he had to make was, do I or do I not get Peyton Manning? Oh, I get him? Okay. Well, we're going to be a Super Bowl contender for the next 5 years. That's how that works. That's how it worked, isn't it? Am I misremembering that? Because that's pretty much what happened. They didn't know what to do. They were just coming off of the Josh McDaniel era when it was Tim Tebow was just doing what God knows what out on the field, and God does know what Tim Tebow is doing. It's a very good point, Jenna. And so, like, you were coming off of that, and you needed to fix it, right? Because you had Von Miller, which was good, but Brian Sanders was the guy who had acquired the talent on the team for the most part. And so you're coming in now, and it just fixed everything. It made it easier to get free agents. It made it easier to hold players accountable because Peyton Manning was going to do it in their face on the field anytime they screwed up. Having that kind of leadership from your quarterback, who's a Hall of Famer and one of the best ever, that was really, really important for the Denver Broncos. And it like the idea that the people who want to defend John Elway from from the masses who are upset right now with the state of the Broncos. They always say, well, he went to 5 Super Bowls and he went to 2 more as a GM. Like, you get time. Like, they will just sort of like say, okay, well, that's great. I don't think anybody is saying that John Elway didn't do that stuff. I mean, that's a fact. That's true. But I think you are maybe trying to assign 100% of credit to the GM of things. I mean, did John Elway win that Super Bowl? Did he win Super Bowl 50, or was it the Broncos? Was it Von Miller and Peyton Manning and those guys? Are they the ones who won that Super Bowl? Because Elway seems to be like this credit magnet. He just gets credit for all kinds of things that he probably doesn't deserve to get credit for a lot of times. Gee, you did miss the Earl Thomas news. Yeah, Zach, I have been calling Ari out all show long, and he hasn't said anything. TJ, can you give us the latest Earl Thomas update? Thanks. I can't. That's your job. I don't know anything about Earl Thomas, Ari. Bartolo Colon is like 50 innings away from pitching 4,000 innings. It's crazy. That's crazy. He's also 50 pounds away from being 4,000 pounds. That's great. That's great, Wade. Wonderful. G says, Ari didn't know you was a Bears fan. I was just told the news. Yeah, grew up in Chicago. Rachel's watching. What's up, Rachel? Ari says, what exactly did you mean the Cowboys suck and you aren't just talking about on the field? I'm not talking about they are going to suck on the field. I gave my lock predictions, my Bet DSA locks earlier. I gave them last week, but I also gave them again earlier in the show, Ari. One of my locks, go to betdsi.com, put money down on the Cowboys over-under. They were put at 8.5 with that stealing money. Take the under. Take the under on 8.5 on the Cowboys, and you'll win a bunch of money. Cowboys are overrated. Overrated. Let's see here. On paper, the Cowboys look talented. I mean, depends on whose paper you're looking at, I guess. Andy says, is Mark Sanchez still available? He seems like a pretty competent backup. He was the backup here in Denver like 3 years ago. Not last season, the season before that. I think Mark Sanchez was in Denver. Wade says, John Elway sucks. Ari says, agreed, Andy. I think the Cowboys are a 10-win team. No, they are not a 10-win team. Just be glad my boys ain't playing the Broncos this year, because last time we played, y'all got lucky. Like Skip Bayless said, that was Denver's Super Bowl, because the game after that game, y'all dropped off. Well, Skip Bayless is wrong, and I don't know. The only reason that I can think of as to why the Cowboys got absolutely destroyed by the Broncos last year is because the Cowboys aren't nearly as good as people think they are. In fact, in particular, Ezekiel Elliott was not good in that game. He had like 8 yards for the game. Let's see here. T-Blow. That's good. I like that. T-Blow. Andy, so the Cowboys win 10 games, the Bears win 10 games, the Broncos win 6 games. Bears are not winning 10 games. Neither are the Cowboys. Broncos may not even win 6. Andy, Tebow was having a solid season in Double-A. Yeah, before he got hurt. Gee, I'm saying it's now 14-2 Cowboys. Are you serious? Can I explain my shirt, Ari? Yeah, this is the Cauldron. Kansas City Sporting KC. So actually one of the legitimate teams I would say that I am a fan of. I'm a fan of that of them as an organization because they treat fans the right way. And this is amazing. They have sold out every home game at Sporting KC at I think it's Children's Mercy Park. Children's Mercy Park, they have sold out, I think the last like 3.5, 4 years, they've sold out every game. And one of the reasons why is because they create such a great atmosphere for their fans. And, in fact, they lost like 3 games in a row 2 years ago, and Rob Heineman, who is their CEO and owner, Heineman came out with a press release that said, I just want you to know, I think that it's absolutely, totally unacceptable, the effort that you've seen from Sporting Kansas City over the last 3 games. We promise to make it right. We will make it right. And as a reward, we're letting everybody into the game for free. Hey, like, that's the kind of ownership that I wish percolated throughout sports. They are go do a study. Go do a case study on Sporting Kansas City and how they went from being a joke of a franchise maybe 10 years ago with the KC Wiz, right? They were the KC Wizards. And they were getting like 6,000 people at every game, and how they turned that into maybe one of the most passionate soccer fan bases in all of America that has sold out a 20,000-seat stadium for 4 straight years. Go and then tell me you don't like Sporting Kansas City. But anyways, this is their fan section, Cauldron. I got this shirt for free from one of the fans there. Just wanted to give it to me as a gift. Just because he loved the show, Jenna, that's why. Because he loved the show. Because he really enjoyed me as a person and as a show host. Andy says, I wonder how many teams were calling the Mets about Tebow before the trade deadline and the injury announcement. Do you have any explanation on taking the Cowboys under 8.5, or is it just because I said so? No, I think that they're overvalued. I think their talent is overvalued. They have no receivers. They have no tight end. Their offensive line is older. It won't be nearly as good. Their running game is overrated. Their quarterback is overrated. Their defense is not nearly as good. I know they've got a couple of players who are pretty good. Lee is good, obviously. They've got some good guys up front, but generally speaking, I would say that the Cowboys are not as good as people think, and they're probably gonna get. I don't know. I think six wins is possible for them, but it's probably going to be less than 6. Let's see here. Like any factual data in any capacity. I just gave you facts, Ari. Fact after fact after fact. Ezekiel Elliott, fraud. Fact. Debate that. G says, no, it's not our players, it's our coach. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Jason Garrett, too. Jason Garrett's also a fraud. Just a yes man. Does whatever Jerry Jones tells him to do. And if you are Jerry Jones and you are much like John Elway. John Elway and Jerry Jones are actually very similar in a lot of ways. They're very arrogant. They don't like, they're very white, both of them. Both of them love to drink. They're just they're swagger guys, right? It's like oh well, I'll call it like I see it. I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to keep shooting straight, and I'm going to shoot my way straight to a championship. And that's kind of they're just lackadaisical and also arrogant in how they go about their business, and that's why the Cowboys aren't going to be any good this year. Let's see here. What was that? Did you hear that yell? Was that a triumphant yelp? Or what was that?
That was one of the players,
lineman? Oh, okay. All right. All right, let's see here. No, it's not our players. It's our coach. Yay, Sporting Kansas City. MLS is a joke. There are some things about it that are jokish as a league. G's got to go. G, thanks for watching the show, as always. People don't think they're very good. I mean, you do, Ari, which is wrong. So I'm really just talking about you because you're the only person I get Cowboys coverage from. So if I'm saying people, if I'm saying media sources, I'm just talking about you, Ari, because I'm not going to follow local Cowboys coverage for no reason. But I will follow your coverage, Ari, because I like the way that you cover things. You should watch his show, by the way, Showtime with Ari Temkin, on right before this show. Pro Football Focus says they have the 8th best talent in the NFL. Pro Football Focus is full of liars. We just talked about this earlier. Statistically speaking, the Cowboys were dreadful last year. And I would say that if you're looking at the metrics and you're trying to extrapolate some kind of quantifiable talent number, like Pro Football Focus tries to do a lot, you're going to be misinformed. We are number blind in sports, or at least a lot of people are number blind. I'm not number blind. I see the truth. I speak the truth. I watch and I evaluate, and then I'm right. And that's just really that's how that goes. And I know that that's really hard for a lot of people to understand. Seth Kaiser, Chiefs guy for The Athletic, really hard for him to understand that you can't evaluate sports on a spreadsheet. And so you can manipulate. There's a saying that you know very, very well, Ari. There are lies, there are damn lies, and then there are statistics. And that is so true. I mean, if you want to cherry-pick numbers and say that those cherry-picked numbers that only support your argument are the only numbers that matter and that's why the Cowboys are going to be good, fine. You are more than welcome to be wrong. You are more than welcome to lead people down the primrose path if you want. But what I'm saying here is that what I see is a team full of frauds down in Dallas, and they are going to get just crushed by the NFC East this year. Redskins are going to beat them. Eagles are definitely going to beat them, and the Giants are probably going to beat them. Let's see here. Zeke Elliott over under 1,500 all-purpose yards? Under. If you're taking the under, I'll take that bet. Okay, Ari. $50 right here. I'll take the under. $50. You can pay me when you come visit. Let's see here. Of course, Andy, but TJ says he's overrated. He is overrated. Wade says soccer is awful. Try sitting out in an open grass field, extremely wet grass from dew, sipping from a gas station coffee that tastes like shit, and watching little kids kick around a wet, slick ball for 2 hours to end up a freaking tie 0-0. Ugh, soccer sucks. Well, yeah, I could say take any number of children and give them any activity to do, and it's going to suck because they're children. They're little savages. They're little heathens who don't know anything, and they're uncoordinated. And all they do is yell and scream and cry and crap on things. So, and their hands are sticky. They're always sticky. They always got sticky hands because they're always sticking their hands and stuff. And I'm telling you, I mean, Pop Warner sucks. I mean, all children's sports suck. You got to get at least to the high school level before sports become interesting. Anything below that, garbage. Let's see here. Would you take Zeke Elliott to the Rockies outfield? No. He's not good enough to play in the Rockies. Have you seen the Rockies outfield? Rockies outfield is spectacular. Ari Temkin, over under 1,500 all-purpose yards. I'm taking the bet, Ari. Ari covers the Cowboys like a blanket covers a bed. Wade says, stats are wonderful until kickoff, until tip-off, until the first pitch. Yep, that's pretty right. I would say that statistics give us something to talk about. They don't necessarily help us evaluate the game any better. And look, the thing about it is that I don't hate statistics. There are some statistics I think are very telling, but they're telling on a minor level. If you're trying to make some sort of grandiose extrapolation, some sort of take based off of a number, you're taken wrong. That's not how you take. That's not how you evaluate things. AL MVP, Trout or Betts? Mookie Betts? Trout. I'll take Trout. World Cup was just as awful. No, it wasn't, Wade. No, it was not as awful. Did you see that Kraus free kick against who was that? Was it Serbia? No, it wasn't Serbia. Who was it? Sweden, maybe? I think it was Sweden. They had an amazing. Oh God, it was so good. I don't understand why you hate soccer, Wade. You're a pretty smart guy. So why are you shitting on soccer? Little League World Series? Oh, Andy, Little League World Series is the worst. It's garbage. Those kids, they can't, limp-wristed, just no power behind their throws. I mean, they can't even swing the bat properly. Their footwork is awful. I mean, the pitch doesn't even hit the glove half the time. I mean, come on. Amateur hour out there. Seriously. Why do we put that on TV? Get that crap off my TV. Give me real sports. Stat I'd like to see, number of viewers when TJ Carpenter has a beard versus doesn't. Do you like the beard? Are you pro beard? Jenna says the beard works. She doesn't like my legs, but she says the beard works. I'm not jumping up on the chair. No. Beardless TJ is scary. I'm scary without a beard? How's a 12-year-old boy scary? No. I have nice, thick, Bo Jackson-esque legs. Quit spreading lies about me, Jenna. We're at the best league in the world. If you think soccer is boring, you are watching American soccer. I mean, I watch MLS. I find MLS interesting. I think it's a very entertaining league. You don't have the names that you have in La Liga or in Serie A or, by the way, Ronaldo to Juventus. Are you fucking kidding me? That's going to be very interesting. Because Serie A has not been relevant really as a league since Ibrahimovic played there, and that was like 6-7 years ago. It's not Premier League. I mean, the Premier League is it's the Premier League. It's awesome. I absolutely love soccer. I think people who don't like soccer are the kinds of people who don't watch soccer, which is fine, but you just have to acknowledge that you don't like it because you don't watch it, not because it's not good. Let's see here. No, I didn't see it. I don't watch awful things. Fair. Bundesliga is awesome. Champions League is awesome. Yeah, Champions League, Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga. Yeah, all those leagues. Let's see here. Thanks for the money. You're not winning that bet, Ari. Wade says my head is smaller than Bo's thighs. I was told the other day I have a small head. No, I think I have a large head. I don't think you guys are looking at my head. Look at this. This is a big head. It's large.
You have a hickey right there?
No, I don't have a hickey. I don't think I have a hickey. I think it was from this. I think that's what it was from. If I do have a hickey, it's from my wife. She does. She likes the chicken legs. Let's see here. Ari is saying I have a tiny head. Do I?
Miniature person head. You have like a 15-year-old body.
I don't have a 15-year-old body.
Your head is tiny. Your little thighs are itty bitty.
Put on a headset. Because I can't hear you. You just gotta put it on. There you go.
I said
What are you saying?
that your head is tiny, your legs are itty bitty. You might as well be a 15-year-old person. And if you shave, you look 15.
That's good though, right? It's good if I have a 15-year-old body. It means that my body I'm going to live longer. And I'm going to look younger longer.
It means you look like a child. There's some negative connotation with that. They're going to think you don't know what you're talking about, but apparently we all agree that you don't know what you're talking about, so. Because you hate the Rockies.
I know. I just don't think people care about the Rockies.
We've been
Why
talking
I'm not
about
talking-
baseball the
I'm not-
majority of this
I'm
of
refusing.
this show.
No,
Yes,
I'm not going to
we
talk about
have.
baseball. We're talking
We
backup
talked World
quarterback.
World Series. We talked Cubs a bunch. We talked Rockies. Andy is my favorite viewer.
Ari says I look like Michael Keaton with a tiny head and Beetlejuice.
Ari's trying to get me back for calling him.
Andy said cornholio. Do I have a Beavis? Do I have a Beavis or Butthead head?
Yeah, you do.
I do?
And a hickey on your neck.
I don't have a hickey.
He's got a
I don't have a hickey.
Everybody check out TJ's hickey.
Oh. I have too much of a chin. My chin. It's not. I guess I kind of do have a. I don't feel like I have an appropriate sized head. I have an appropriate sized head.
Beetlejuice.
No. By the way, guys, look, there's nothing going on right now, so we're just dicking around on the show. Nothing happened at practice today other than I saw Paxton Lynch miss a throw really, really badly, and there was no pressure. It wasn't even a play. It was just guys running routes, and he missed a guy on just a straight slant, and he threw the ball maybe 3 or 4 yards behind him. I thought it was a miscommunication maybe, but it wasn't. It was just him sucking. So I saw that. That was interesting from practice. But nothing else really happened out here. They're going to take it pretty easy these last 2 days out here at training camp. And then once everything closes down, shuts down to the public, they're probably going to get a little bit more serious. But are hickeys from 1957?
Because Ari said that he doesn't see a hickey, and then he said, what is this, 1957? Like, people can't have hickeys in 2018, Ari?
Yeah. TJ, you are an animated character away from being a Mike Judge cartoon. Hey, I'm okay with that. I could be okay with that. Sure. Mike Judge. I like him. Silicon Valley. Let's see. It's been said twice. Don't say it a third time.
What, hickey?
Hickey?
Hickey.
Yes, Jenna Garcia. Hickeys were invented by John H. Hickey in 1957.
Well,
That's
hickeys
not
were
true.
perfected by millions of teenagers in the 2000s.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for us on the show here. Don't forget, if you're looking for a house in Denver, Brent Malia Properties with Coldwell Banker. Go to tjsagent.com to get in touch with Brent. He helped us find our dream house here in Denver. He can help you do the exact same thing if you're looking for real estate here. Also, if you need help with your mortgage, go to PlatteRiverMortgage.com. Sean Sedita there will help you out the way he helped us We got the best possible rate. We got a great rate on our mortgage, in large part thanks to Platte River Mortgage. So go to PlatteRiverMortgage.com today if you're looking for help with a mortgage. Also, BetDSI. We've been talking about BetDSI all throughout the show. Go to BetDSI.com. Use the promo code PHANTOM. That's FANTOM. Use that promo code. You can get your first deposit matched up to $2,500. So go do that today, and you will see you will see just how much money you can make by taking my advice and not Ari's. Take my advice, not Ari's, on the Cowboys especially. I gave you my 4 locks. Here are your 4 locks. One final time. Here are your locks. Redskins, win-loss total is 7, take the over. Patriots, win-loss total 11, take the over. Packers, 10, take the under. Cowboys, 8.5, definitely take the under because they're going to be a terrible team this year.
Wait, we can't go yet. People want to know, when did everybody get their first hickey?
When did everybody get their first hickey?
Yeah, Wade got his first hickey in 8th grade. And
Eighth
G.
grade?
Garcia wants to be part of the hickey talk.
Who wants to be part of the hickey talk?
G. Garcia, he came back.
G came back.
G came back for the hickey
Wow.
talk.
Okay, all right. Well,
11th grade, Andy, you were well behaved.
Yeah. I would say, I think my first hickey was...
On the bus ride home from Kings Island in Ohio.
I think it was 6th grade. I think I was 6th grade.
Wow, that's a little bit early. I would have gotten my ass beat if I had a hickey in 6th grade.
Natasha Meyer.
Wow.
As I remember her name.
Mine was like, I don't know what grade I was in, but I was on the way to basketball practice.
I was
remember.
like 12, 13. Is that too young?
6th grade, you were like 11.
No,
12.
no, it's like 12, 13, somewhere around there. It was like 6th or 7th grade.
Ari, 5th grade. Wow, Ari wins. I wouldn't have expected that from you, Ari, to be totally honest.
I would. He was a hoe bag before he got married. I can tell. I can always spot him. He was a man hoe. I can always spot the man hoes. Ari definitely was. That's going to do it for us here on Noon O'Clock. I want to thank everybody for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, once again, out here at Denver Broncos training camp. I hope something happens so we can talk about it. Later, y'all.